Welcome to CSEC Biology Live. This is, of course, Mr. Wilson. And if I even can ever get wrong, I do think that this is the evening. Good evening, and welcome to, as we call it, Mr. Wilson Live. This evening, we're going to be looking at the menstrual cycle. And of course, we're going to try to see how much we can look at family planning. I do hope that you are safe wherever you are. I realize that there was some mix up with the time. I was told just earlier by Macmillan that there's a 2-hour log on the time, so persons are expecting the show to be at 7 o'clock instead of 5 o'clock. But nonetheless, we're going to be having a great show. No need to worry, just stay with me, and of course, we're going to be going places. So invite your friends to come on over. There's a lot of nice things for us to talk about, and we're going to be doing that this evening. All right, so just come on over. It's a new evening. You're going to be seeing a whole lot of things different. But outside of that, we're definitely going to be having a grand time. For some persons who are new to the show, this might be the first evening. You might be realizing that you're having ads on screen, or you might be having ads throughout the show at the end and that side of at the end and that sort of a thing. But nonetheless, we're going to be having a great time. So no need to worry. All right, Jawawan, are you hearing me? Jawawan, are you hearing me? Good evening, Miss Gray. Macmillan, are you hearing me? Just doing a check. Yes, sir. Wonderful. You are seeing ads on your screen just now, Jawawan? Good evening, Mackenzie. Were you seeing ads on your screen? Just let me know, please. I'm trying to navigate with this. I really don't understand this terrain. It's sort of really new for me. So just help me out here. Oh, yes, you had ads on your screen. All right, not to worry. Yes, sir, I am, and I... All right, beautiful, beautiful. All right, so I just wanted to ensure that I let you know that there will be ads in the show. I spoke to you the last time we were around, and I told you that we have actually made a whole lot of strides. So, of course, this show is monetized. What it means is that this show has persons who have interest in, of course, advertising on the platform. So you'll be seeing that as we go through the show. But nonetheless, the show will be the same length. Don't worry too much about the ads. Of course, somebody has to pay the bills, and the bills, of course, are paid by our advertisers. All right, but I won't shortchange you. Everything will be fine. All right, so I feel a little sluggish starting off. I really don't know why. I feel a little really. You probably can hear it in my voice. I'm a little sluggish starting off. I think as soon as I see everyone come in, things might be a little better. But I know that a whole lot of things went wrong. When I came in, and Macmillan said to me, "Sir, the show is 2 hour. It says 2 hour time before you start." I realized that almost all my settings have changed. As to how they were changed, I can't even say. But I realized that I usually go for 17:05, and I don't know if I went for 7:05 instead of 17:05. So it could have been me. I really don't know. But it happens every now and then. But like I said, good things are happening. We have been recognized now by YouTube, and as such, we're going to be seeing ads. Just warning here, you're going to be seeing ads throughout the show. You'll be seeing ads before the show, and there might be ads after the show. Not to worry, you won't be missing out on anything. So don't get flustered and all that. You are going to see the entire show. All right, so don't worry about the ads. You're going to be seeing everything. All right, so let me do the roll call and see if I can find the rhythm. Let me start over. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Mr. Wilson Live. It's another Friday evening, and outside it's like really, really wonderful. The weather is nice, the temperature is also nice, and of course, we're going to be having a wonderful evening this evening. Welcome to you from wherever you are in the Caribbean, and of course, to an extent, wherever you are in the world. This is, of course, a free biology and human and social biology class. And of course, it is geared towards CSEC examination. Anyone can join the show. It is free. It doesn't matter your race, color, or creed. Neither does it matter your religious belief or your political belief or which school you attend or did not attend or who is your teacher. This is the forum for everyone. This is a place where your views can contend and no one will laugh at you. We understand that here we have a growing and learning experience. So, of course, persons are going to embrace you in this room. We have been doing well. I was looking at a show earlier and I saw photosynthesis, and I'm saying, but just in November, we were at photosynthesis, and look at where we are now. We are growing and we are doing well, and we're going to finish the syllabus so that we can do a whole lot of past papers. So I think just stick with me, continue to support the program. I continue to support you. Like I have said, I am very happy you are here, but I am extremely happy that you gave me the opportunity to serve you. And I'll continue to do so with great pride. So, of course, this is a place for you to be. Encourage your friends to come on over. If you have not yet liked, share, or subscribe, it is definitely time for you to do so. The time is sort of getting closer and closer to exams. We are not too sure as yet whether it will be a May, June, or a June, July. But one thing we're certain is that the exam is coming and it will not catch us off guard. So no need to worry. With that said, let's hop on right into the lesson. So we're going to be talking about the menstrual cycle. And when I teach a menstrual cycle, a lot of boys are afraid of the menstrual cycle. But gentlemen, there's no need to be afraid of the menstrual cycle. Put it this way, if you walk in the rain, there is always a possibility of you getting wet. All right, so Martin is saying that the exam is June, July. We don't know. We are waiting on further words that it's possible. So if you walk in the rain, it's likely that you will get wet. And if you have a partner, then this is, of course, going to be a part of your life until she's about 45 or 55 or somewhere there about. So just get used to it, man up to it. Don't be a man of yesterday. Don't allow her to feel as if she is dirty or she's sick. While during this period, a woman can fall sick. To, of course, experience menstruation in itself, it is not a form of sickness. It is indeed a form of being healthy. It's a normal body process, normal functioning. So, gentlemen, get over the rock. I know that some of you are saying to your special person that, listen to me, I am not eating when you cook because whatever happened. I want to ask a question before I jump on into the show. When you go to wherever you go to buy food in the day, when you go for work, do you stop to ask, have you gone through the stoplight yet before you buy the food? Or is it that you just buy the food and walk out and not even remember that there's a stoplight? Right? And while you were growing up with your parents, did you ask that question? No, you did not. So, what has changed now for you to think that all of a sudden a woman going through the stoplight is dirty? No, of course, the woman is expected to take care of herself. No, so once she's taking care of herself, gentlemen, she's perfectly well, just like you and I. So we're going to up on into the menstrual cycle now. I do hope that I did something for you. Just one other thing before I go. Be reminded to go and buy the sanitary napkin for the lady. Nothing is wrong with that. Nothing is wrong with that. If you never know, I can tell you, the ones that they sell in the shop, they have not been used. They have not been used. So you don't need to worry. Just go on and fetch it for her if she asks you to fetch it for her. And if you went to the supermarket and you are supposed to get these things, just be man and take them out. All right? These will not hurt you. All right? Don't worry about the fella that used to laughing. I could tell you why he's laughing, but leave that for another show. So, the menstrual cycle it is, and this is definitely not my domain. This is the domain for the ladies. So, of course, I'm going to be calling on my ladies to help me through this lesson. Because in most cases, we can talk about what the literature would have said, but we really don't know what's the fact. Sir, I am a new person here. Hey, we've got a new member of the family. Welcome to the family. And I would like to know if the class is every Friday. The class is every Wednesday, Friday, and Sunday at 5:05 p.m. And if you ever see any other time, send me something in the comment or by email to say, sir, something went wrong. What is it that we need to know? I am in some culture, the woman can't enter the kitchen on her. Yeah, that is true. That is true. But you see, I really don't want to touch that because you see, people really just believe, and the cultural norms, they are sacred. And I am not going to try to even think about the norm and whatever and whatever. I don't want to touch that. That's not my place to go. And this show, we really don't deal with the discrimination. We really respect people's culture. We really respect people's religious precision. Whatever it is, we do respect. But Amoy, that is indeed a fact that we need to have in front of us and know that this is a fact. All right. So we're going to be looking at the menstrual cycle and we start now. So my first question is, what is menstruation? What's menstruation? I'm in Alpha Tree, Kingston. What's menstruation? Mer? What's menstruation? All right, type it in the chat there for me. If we're going to be talking about the menstrual cycle, then it is very important for us to understand menstruation, and then we are going to get into the menstrual cycle. Now, the loss of the uterus lining from the body. You mean like from my body, am I? Or from a nice body? Or from millions little baby's body? Whose body? We want to get this right. There are still a lot of persons who really don't understand this concept. So, rightly said, menstruation, it is a monthly shedding of a wall of the uterus, the walls of the uterus. All right, so it's a monthly shedding of a wall of the uterus, and it is of course it of course results in what we refer to as normal bleeding or shedding of blood through, of course, the vagina. Yes, Martin, I would have seen your comment on YouTube, would have flagged it, but that is fine. It's a class, an education class, so it's fine. All right. The breakdown of uterus wall, very good word there, uterus wall, when the egg is not fertilized. Very good. That's a nice one too. And Martin, I released your comment just now. Not so sure, you know. It is the release of blood from the. All right, it is more than that. And Martin, I like what you have just said because I'll have to treat with that. Amoy Lawrence, yes, female, female. All right. So Amoy, just remind me here. Oh, you said uterus. Oh, I am very sorry, Amoy. I shouldn't even have asked you whether it's male or female because male don't have uterus. So I'm very sorry. Once you say uterus there, it's fine. All right. Jawawan, menstruation is when the lining is when the lining, I'm not too sure, is then discharged as blood. I'm not too sure where you're going there. But let me, like I said, menstruation, simply put, is of course a shedding of a wall of the uterus. It results from it results in, of course, normal bleeding or shedding of blood through the vagina. All right? It is normal, right? Every woman, as long as they reach maturity, as long as they are mature, they must experience menstruation. Let's go again. What causes menstruation? Because now we understand that it is the shedding of the uterine wall or the walls of the uterus. We know that. And when the wall shed, we understand what happens. And we also understand that it's a normal process. So what really causes menstruation? What causes menstruation? Now, menstruation is, of course, like I said, a normal process for any mature woman that has, of course, has not reached menopause. If a woman is, of course, not mature, has not reached that age, then she's not going to. Just give me a minute, Morris.
Yes, sir.
Everybody is upside down, upstairs, and I am like online.
Okay, all right.
You can see if you can come. Huh?
I saw something else over the free.
All right, that's fine. All right, good. I'm sorry, guys. Somebody came there, and I'm like only person here. Sorry about that. All right, so the process occurs because there is a release of egg, which is normal. Ovulation takes place. All right, it's a release of egg, and what we said there is a release in the egg. What has happened is that ovulation would have taken place. So once there's ovulation, the egg is of course released. But this egg, having been released, was of course not fertilized. So because it was not fertilized, even before we get to not fertilized, the egg having been released, follow me, I'm slowing it down here. It's a long thing I'm going to do for you to understand it. So let me just go a little slower. So every month, men, the woman would release an egg. We refer to the egg as being, we refer to this process as being ovulation. Now, the egg is, of course, going to move from the ovary and it is going to move along the fallopian tube. Now, if the egg is supposed to be fertilized, the egg will be fertilized or should be fertilized in the fallopian tube. Now, while this is happening, the walls of the uterus is also becoming thick. And of course, it's becoming thick, and of course, it has a rich supply of blood, right? Now, this is now happening, and it is doing this in preparation because it is of the opinion, and you know, it can't have no, that is personification, that the woman is going to get pregnant. So it's putting all these things in place, but the body is being responsible to put measures in place should the woman becomes pregnant. Now, if the woman does not become pregnant because she thinks that this is not the time for whatever reason, then the egg is going to disintegrate, and so too the walls of the uterus. So it's going to be disintegrated and, of course, shed as blood. Now, I'm going to be talking more about that as we continue through the course. Good. Now, the question is, we spoke about menstruation, right? We spoke about what causes menstruation. Menstruation is primarily caused because, like we said, there is no fertilization. The egg was not fertilized. Now, because of this regular interval, or should I say this cycle of passing this blood, this menstruation, it is called the menstrual cycle. All right. Now, the other question, just let me look at my chat here. The other question, when does this cycle begins? And we are looking at it at the layman way, everybody way out the road, and then I'm going to be putting in the hormones. All right. So even though you see I'm going through it like this, I want you to understand what the process entails, and then we are going to become a little more scientific about it as we go through. So bear with me if you are not seeing what I'm saying in the book or in that order, but pretty much that's the order that it happens. But we're going to get to the corpus luteum and the hormones and so on. Just give me a bit. Sir, it happens because of a change in hormone in the woman's body. Beautiful, and we're going to get there. So my question to you now, when does the what's the start time for that menstrual cycle? What is day one? What is day one? The cycle begins on day one. What is day one? Don't be afraid to talk. If it flag, I will treat with it. Menstruation begins 14 days after fertilization. Huh? Am I seeing that right? Menstruation, should that be begin? Menstruation being 14 days after fertilization. All right, beautiful. This is the answer that we're looking for. Day one is, of course, the start of the menstrual cycle. Day one, day one of the menstrual cycle is actually the day when you started seeing your period, or the day when menstruation started. All right, menstruation being 14 days after ovulation. We're coming down to that. That is a little sort of technical, so we're going to break it down a little by little. Then we get there. Amoy, just give us a little time. So the first thing we need to know before we get to the advanced level of Amoy, we need to know when this cycle starts. So first we did, follow me. First thing that we did was to establish what is menstruation. Second thing we did was to establish what causes menstruation. And then the third thing we're looking at now, we're looking now at when we look at the menstrual cycle, and we're now looking at what point does the cycle begins. And we're saying the cycle begins not at the end of your period, but at the start, day one. That is when the cycle begins. Now, the menstrual cycle, of course, begins on the first day of a woman, of course, menstruation, the period. And forms that notification that, of course, you are not pregnant. Most women, they determine whether or not they are pregnant by, of course, a check of the period. If the period doesn't come, then they will think that probably I'm pregnant, and then probably they will do a test and all of that to determine if they are pregnant. Now let's look at the summary a little more detail, and I am going little by little by little. Just bear with me, those persons who are guru in it. You have some persons who are novice like myself. All right. So each month, we're going again, the uterus, and I do hope you understand we're talking now about what persons would call the womb, right? So each month, the uterus prepares itself for pregnancy. Yes. Now, this happens because of the monthly release of egg from the ovary. We're taking it now step at a time. Gentlemen, follow. The egg travels along the oviduct, and if it is not fertilized by a sperm, then the period will come. However, if it is fertilized, then you will not have your period. So if the egg is fertilized, then the period will not come. I do hope you are following this slow way. Now, if it is fertilized, let me say that again, the woman will not be seen or should not be seen any period. I know that person is going to tell me about anomaly. Now, if it is not fertilized, then it is, of course, going to move into the walls of the uterus. While it is there in the wall of the uterus and nothing is happening, no fertilization would have taken place, like I have said before, there is going to be disintegration. Now, this disintegration, which we call period or menstruation, will last for about 5 days, 3 to 5 days under normal circumstances. In some persons, my ladies will tell me here, it might be longer, it might be shorter. In some cases, persons might need medication. In some cases, persons might need medication as they might be experiencing what we refer to as hormone imbalance. Good. Whole lot of things. Now, everybody get that a while ago? Gentlemen in the room, you understand how the period thing go now? Yes or no? Just type. Ladies who never understand much, you understand now? Because we're going to get scientific now. We add the scientific quotient to it now, right? And this is where we are having problem on the exams. Everybody understand the menstrual cycle, but when we start to put in the hormones and what shed and what never shed and all of that, then persons start having problem. So I am now going now into the science of it. So, ovulation. Back to Amoy 14-day story. Ovulation. In the middle of a cycle, the ovary will release an egg. The egg, listen, middle of a cycle. The cycle is on average about 28 days. On average, it is about 28 days, but of course, it could be longer. So on average, it's about 28 days. And now in the middle of that 28 days, about 14 days ago, then you are going to release an egg. You need to know this because we're going to talk about rhythmic sex. Now, the egg will, of course, move to the uterus. Now, when it moves to the uterus, whether it is fertilized or not, a decision must be taken. Now, if it is fertilized, a number of things will happen. Let us pause there. I am pausing there because I'm going to be introducing you to something new. But before I introduce you to these new things, I am going to throw a trivia your way because a lot of persons feel like the energy is weighing. Could you tell me about some animal other than human who experience menstruation? Tell me in the chat there if there's any animal other than human that would experience menstruation. Tell me in the chat. It has nothing to do. Dog? I've never seen a dog experiencing that. I don't know that. I don't know. You can support that. I've never seen that. Dogs? I've never seen that. Is that true? I don't know. I really don't know. I've never seen that. Is that a guess or it's true? Yes, bats, for example. Yeah, bats do experience it. Anything else? Only elephant and the elephant shoe. The elephant shoe, that thing looking like a rat. A female dog in eat does. I didn't know that. I'm very happy that I asked you. I'll have to go and do the research. So we have human top of the list. Then we have monkeys. We have ape. We have bats. And we have like the elephant shoe. So you are not in this alone, ladies. All right? Fish. I didn't know that, but I have to write down these things and I definitely have to go and check it. But not a bother. All right? So we are going to now look at cow. No. No, 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 no. I remember that I am an agriculturalist and I have never heard that or seen that in any literature. So that one really hit me by storm and I'll have to check that. How that would have passed over my head and I wouldn't have seen it. All right, nonetheless. Now, what I want to expose you to now is how the cycle is controlled. And this is where we're going to start talking about some hormones and we'll start to talk about what about blackfish? I don't know. I am going to check. I don't know those. I shared with you the ones I know. Now, we need to understand for the exam how the menstrual cycle is controlled. Now, it is controlled by 3 hormones that are from the pituitary gland. Would you like to tell me in the chat what these 3 hormones are? All mammals have a menstrual cycle, but most are covert menstruation. Okay, not overt, but covert. All right, sir is as a process of menstruation? I really don't know, Kevin. I really don't know, but I'll check it. If I, like I say, more provide me with some new knowledge, I'll go and check. What I know, I gave you a list of some things that I know. All right. And like I could show something out there again because I'm not feeling the energy in this. I'm trying to get from you. All right. So we know some other organism that would, of course. All right, sir. Luteinizing hormone, yes. All right. While I wait on the three hormones that actually control the menstrual cycle, I'm going to be showing something else your way. We have animals with more than one vagina. After you have told me about the hormones, anybody want to attempt that to tell me which animal would have more than one vagina? And it is normal. It is normal. All right, so let me see here now. Sir, the luteinizing hormone, follicle stimulating hormone, luteinizing hormone, follicle stimulating hormone, but that's two. And I asked for three. That's two. All right, let's go again. Follicle stimulating hormone is secreted by the pituitary gland. No, we don't reach progesterone yet. We're looking at those three that are associated with the pituitary gland, and then after that we can talk about the other hormones. All right, so I am looking for LTH. Nobody know about that hormone? Lutotrophic. You know about that hormone? Follicle stimulating hormone, luteinizing hormone, lutotrophic hormone. Very good. Those are the hormones that I was looking for. All right, very good. Not I wasn't looking for estrogen, not yet. We're going to understand now how estrogen come in, and that is why I was doing it so slow, you know. All right, so the answer there, the kangaroo, is an example of an animal that has more than one vagina. All right, and I know a lot of persons have the eyes all wide open, but what you think is the vagina is not the vagina. Remember that the vagina is simply just a canal, just a little passageway. So it is not what you think. It has nothing to do with the labia and all of that. All that it has to do with is that little passageway. So yes, the kangaroo is correct. Amoy Cooper, thumbs up. The kangaroo is correct. All right. So just leave those hormones, those estrogen and progesterone for a little while. All right. I am breaking this thing down very slow. And if you are being confused, just let me know. First of all, we went through and we understand what really happened. I would know we're looking at the science of it. So I was just saying to you that the menstrual cycle is controlled by three hormones. And I'm going to be telling you about the three hormones at least 2 times in this lesson. I'm going to give you a summary of what the hormones do, and then I'm going to look at it again. So the first hormone we want to look at is, of course, FSH, follicle stimulating hormone. And one might ask, what's a follicle? We said in the last class that a follicle is pretty much a small sac, all right? And it's usually filled with fluid. So when we talk about follicle stimulating hormone, we're talking about a follicle that should be developed, that type of thing. All right. So follicle stimulating hormone that will, of course, cause the growth of the follicles. And of course, estrogen is also produced. So the follicle stimulating hormone, let's get back to estrogen now, is responsible for the production of the estrogen and, of course, the growth of the follicle. Those two things you need to recall or need to remember. So let us start again. We're going step by step. There are three hormones from the pituitary gland that controls the menstrual cycle. FSH, LH, and LTH. All right, and they are all in the chat there. We start off by looking at FSH, which of course follicle stimulating hormone secreted by the pituitary gland. The role of the follicle stimulating hormone is, of course, like it says, to cause the growth of the follicle and, of course, the production of estrogen. Good. We're going to go a little further. So we understand the role of that hormone. We soon take it on again. The next hormone we want to look at the luteinizing hormone. There are many hormones, Amoy. There are many hormones, but we'll start categorizing them. And of course, going down to some, so you have some major and you have some minor. I could tell you 5, because I could go progesterone and I could go estrogen plus the others we have just said. But we're talking about the major one. But Amoy, do me a favor, share what you have with us. But we're looking at these 3 major hormones. All right, so luteinizing hormone, it controls ovulation. So if we're talking about controlling ovulation, we're talking about controlling the release of egg. It is also responsible for the corpus luteum. I remember we said that the corpus luteum is simply just a mass of cell that is, of course, produced. Now, it is, of course, responsible now for progesterone. And this is, of course, during early pregnancy. So the luteinizing hormone is associated with the progesterone and ovulation. The follicle stimulating hormone is associated with the follicles and estrogen. Let's do that again. The follicle stimulating hormone is responsible for the follicle development and the production of estrogen. We'll soon get to it. The luteinizing hormone is responsible for ovulation, the corpus luteum, while the corpus luteum now is responsible for the progesterone. Good. Get that. Soon get back to it. The lutotrophic hormone, or LTH, which is also secreted by the pituitary gland, this causes the corpus luteum to now secrete progesterone. So the luteinizing hormone, it deals with ovulation and the corpus luteum. The corpus luteum is going to produce progesterone, but it takes this information from LTH, the lutotrophic hormone. So it's going to take it from it, and then it is going to, of course, produce progesterone. Another important thing is that in male, the LTH is responsible for the production of testosterone, that male hormone. Hope you're following me. Hope you're following me. Good. We're going to go over it again. And before I leave, I will ask you to summarize what I have said. Another thing you need to know about the luteinizing hormone, under normal condition, when a woman is pregnant, she will not be seeing her period. Right? Under normal condition, the LTH will stop the pituitary gland from producing other hormones. Very interesting phenomenon. So just let me sum this up here. Tell me very quickly, you could just use FSH and just put the 2 things that it is responsible for. 2 things I made mention of. Put it in the chat for me. FSH, tell me the 2 things that it is responsible for. Tell me in the chat, and after you would have written that, then you are going to tell me now LH is responsible for the and the. Good. That's how I want you to look at it. That's how I want you to remember it. Just take them 2 at a time, 2 at a time, and then we'll have to now get to another phase where we are going to plug in all of these hormones into the equation of the menstrual cycle or pregnancy. Come on, let me see what's happening now. So growth of follicles and production of estrogen in the ovary. But Jawawan, remember you need to put FSH and then you put whatever else you are writing, because when you go back to the video to see this, you might not even remember what that was for. All right, so FSH is of course for the growth of a follicle and the production of estrogen in the ovary. Anybody else? Everybody right, don't depend on somebody else's information. FSH, sir, is as for pretty much the growing of a follicle and the production of estrogen. Very good. FSH stimulate the follicle to develop in the ovary. FSH stimulate follicle to produce estrogen. Pretty much the same thing. All right. Now, person start the luteinizing hormone now. The luteinizing hormone controls ovulation and, of course, is responsible for the formation of the corpus luteum, which is pretty much just a mass of cells. And this mass of cell, they are going to, of course, produce the progesterone later. Come on, we're not finished. So you're going to tell me those two things that the luteinizing hormone is responsible for. Come on, everyone, be a part of it. Don't fall asleep on me now. Don't do that. Don't do that. We have a lot to cover. Don't worry yourself. I know that this is sticky ground with all of these hormones, but that is why I am going so slow with you so that you can recall. So luteinizing LTH, Jawawan is now at LTH. So LTH, which stimulates the corpus luteum to secrete progesterone. All right. And one other thing you needed to tell me there is that, of course, it will, of course, stop the pituitary gland from producing hormone. Once the LTH is secreted, yes, you're going to get your progesterone, but it is also going to stop the pituitary gland from producing other hormone. Wow, this is a lot of things. I'd rather if you don't go to YouTube and pull the information, I want you to listen. Listen, because I don't want you to, when I want you to go to YouTube, I'll send you. Please listen. When I ask you to listen and reproduce, try. All right? But enough respect, Sherrington. FSA is synthesized and secreted by the gonotropic cells of the Lord Jesus. This is going to complicate the thing. I am running from giving you all of these stuff. All right? That is not so much required by 6C, all of those fancy nice words. All right? Luteinizing hormone is, of course, responsible for ovulation and activates the corpus luteum. A lot said there. I get the feeling that the feed is very slow as persons are taking a little time to respond. So tell me about LTH now. LTH controls the production of testosterone in male. It stops the pituitary gland from producing hormone and, of course, tell the corpus luteum to produce progesterone. So there we have a whole lot of hormone that we just made mention of. We are going to continue with some more hormones. Are you comfortable with those three hormones we spoke about? Those are coming from the pituitary gland, which is the master gland. All right, you need to remember those because I'm going to be throwing on some more hormones now, and you might just become confused as I throw them on. All right, so we're ready to go again. I'm going to make it a little easier now. So, which hormone was produced by FSH? Just tell me in the chat there. Let me ensure that you are following. Which hormone was produced by FSH? Which hormone was the production of which hormone was stimulated by FSH? Estrogen. Beautiful. Beautiful. Now, what is the function? And I want bulleted stuff now. What is the function of estrogen? Remember, like somebody rightfully put it in the chat there, estrogen pretty much is from the ovarian follicles. All right? Remember, we said that the follicles are some little sacs. All right, so estrogen. Now, estrogen is responsible, as we said in the class before, for secondary sexual characteristics. We said that in the last class. Thickening of a wall of the uterus. It is, of course, also responsible, like it is said here by Amoy, to prepare for pregnancy, thickening of the wall of the uterus. And of course, it pretty much is integral in the control of menstruation. Prepare the uterus wall and, of course, control menstruation. Beautiful. Lot being said there. All right. So let us just go over that bit by bit. So it was the pituitary gland that released FSH. Then FSH stimulated the ovarian follicles to secrete or to produce the estrogen. Now, the estrogen, which is a hormone, a chemical messenger, would have now sent information to the respective body parts. One, to treat with secondary sexual characteristics, enlarging of this, growth of hair, there's and all of that, and we're going to talk about them. Now, this same estrogen is also responsible for the thickening of the uterus wall, and it is also responsible, or it also helps to control menstruation. Lots said there. Going down the line, it might just be the same thing in your books. Progesterone. And I want you now to start zeroing in on estrogen and progesterone, because that's where we're going with the menstrual cycle. That's where the cycle will go. The cycle will go with these 5 hormones. 5 hormones. Remember, let us start again. FSH, LH, LTH, and within those we have now inabulated estrogen and progesterone. Now, progesterone will, of course, be secreted by the corpus luteum. Do you remember what initiated the growth of the corpus luteum? It was the luteinizing hormone. Now, after the luteinizing hormone would have initiated the growth of the corpus luteum, then and only then, thereafter, the LTH had caused it to secrete progesterone. Remember, that is where we're coming from with the story, you know? Remember, that's where we are coming from. Now, look what happens. The progesterone also plays a very important role in preparing the uterus wall for pregnancy. It also plays an important role. It also is responsible for stopping ovulation. So if you are pregnant, under normal circumstance, there should be no more egg that is, of course, being released. Yes, you could say for zygote, for implantation, for pregnancy. All those words are nice words. It stops ovulation and, of course, stimulates milk secretion or milk production. We're going to talk more about prolactin as we go along. Be careful of all these big words that you're putting in there now. You got to see they'll cause you to bite your tongue. I try to stay very simple. All right, so progesterone causes the uterus lining to increase in thickness and, of course, remains thick. All right, beautiful. So, of course, once you start talking about menstruation, you have to now think about these 2 hormones, estrogen and progesterone. I do hope that you remember these 5 hormones, and probably we can have a memory aid as we go along. Probably I'll work on one for the next class if someone doesn't do it today. Now, there's another hormone that we spoke about when we spoke about LTH. We spoke about testosterone, and that's in males. Now, the testosterone is produced by the testes, and that is responsible for sexual characteristics in males. The testosterone is responsible for sexual characteristics in males. So we probably could lighten oxytocin. Sorry, too much hormone. We probably could lighten estrogen and testosterone. Testosterone for the male and estrogen for the female. Let us continue. Now, at the time of birth, we spoke about this, I think, twice now. I think I spoke about it when we were looking at hormones or feedback mechanism. Now we're going to say it again. Oxytocin, which is of course from the pituitary gland, it is responsible for the contraction of the womb whenever it is time to give birth. All right? And then we spoke about progesterone being responsible for milk production. Prolactin from the pituitary gland will, of course, stimulate the milk production. Let me stop here. I want you to type in the chat there all the names of the hormones that I have made mention so far. Just tell me in the chat there all the hormones we have made mention of so far. Your problem in the exam is only going to be the names of the hormones. After that, you'll be fine. All right? After you pass through the hormone hurdle, you will be fine. I am going to be going through the hormones now a little more in depth, and some persons will become a little more comfortable. I was very deliberate in breaking down this menstrual cycle to many bits and pieces, as the CXC is saying that we are not doing such a good job with the menstrual cycle. So we are breaking it down into bits and pieces. So type in the chat there. You could just make one long list of the hormones. You don't need to tell me the function now. One long list of the hormones that we have made mention in the show so far. All right. So we started out at the pituitary gland, and we said that there were 3 hormones that were responsible for the menstrual cycle. And from these 3 hormones, we are going to have other hormones that would have been stimulated to be produced. And of course, we made mention of a number of hormones there. So we started out talking about, I love if you give me them in the order. All right, so FSH. Okay, I see where you're going. FSH, but I would put LTH with progesterone. FSH is, of course, the first one we looked at. And then we looked at LH. And then one is not there that we looked at, Amoy. Remember, we looked at LTH. Yes. Come on, guys. We looked at, that's way more than the amount of hormones. I'm talking about all the hormones we made mention of today, you know. All the hormones. All the hormones. I want you to write all the hormones there for me, because the whole idea now is for you to get that practice. So let's name all the hormones. I'm going to go through them with you, being that some persons are still not remembering the hormones. So we started out with the luteinizing hormone. Sorry, we started out with FSH, follicle stimulating hormone. And then we went to luteinizing hormone. And then we went to lutotrophic hormone. Then we went to estrogen. Then we went to progesterone. Then we went to testosterone. And you are still missing 2 hormones, Jawawan. Jawawan. We are still missing 2. All right, you see it? We don't want to miss any. I just want you to name them now. That's all I want you to do. That's all I want you to do. So you have gotten follicle stimulating hormone correct. You have gotten luteinizing hormone correct. You have gotten lutotrophic hormone correct. You have gotten estrogen correct. You have gotten progesterone correct. You have gotten testosterone correct. We've made mention of those, but there are still 2 hormones that we made mention of earlier in the show, are probably the last 2 hormones we made mention of, that it seems as if you have not remembered them because we probably were going too fast. So FSH, LH, LTH, estrogen, progesterone, testosterone, oxytocin. So you are still missing 1. Oh, your net is slow. I'm very sorry, guys. It's Friday evening. Everybody have an early evening off. The corpus luteum is not an hormone. It's not a hormone. Remember, we said that it was just a mass of cells. Yes, we're looking for prolactin. We're looking for prolactin. So let's go over that again. We have the luteinizing hormone. We have the follicle stimulating hormone. We have the lutotrophic hormone. And all those three are from the pituitary gland. Then we spoke about the estrogen. Then we spoke about progesterone. And then we spoke about testosterone. Then we spoke about oxytocin. And then we spoke about prolactin. Now, what I love for you to do in your textbook or in your notebooks is, of course, to make a table to show these hormones, the gland from which they are from, and the summarized function. All right, I don't know why you're getting flagged. Amor, you just got flagged, but that's fine. All right. So, of course, Jawawan. Oh, Jawawan, what is the prolactin? Now, the prolactin, that's the hormone that causes the production of milk. All right. So for the milk to be produced, it's from the pituitary gland. That's what it does. It's for the production of milk. All right. So good. So now that we know about these three hormones that controls the menstrual cycle, and I'm going slow. I'm going to start speeding it up now. FSH from the pituitary gland will of course stimulate the growth of the follicles and of course the production of estrogen in the ovary. That is the takeaway. That's the takeaway from FSH. FSH from the pituitary gland will stimulate the growth of the follicles and the production of oxytocin. I keep doing that. The production of estrogen. Forgive me, guys. The production of estrogen, of course, in the ovary. All right? Estrogen it should be. All right? Good. Another place that we are going to go is that the estrogen prepares the wall of the uterus each month for pregnancy or for zygote, whichever one you want to put, it is good. Now, one other thing about the estrogen is that it keeps its function meaningful in that it ensures that every month there is a fresh lining that should there be any implantation, it is ready. All right? That's a lot said about estrogen. And remember, we are coming from FSH. We are now going to be looking at the luteinizing hormone. We're breaking it down, and we're going to put it in the menstrual cycle that it is more meaningful as we go along. Now, the luteinizing hormone will control the release of eggs, or one might say ovulation, from the corpus luteum. Now, if the egg is not fertilized, then there will be menstruation. We just said something else about the corpus luteum. Now, if the egg is fertilized, listen this now, the corpus luteum will secrete progesterone and estrogen to enhance implantation. Let's do that again. We're looking at the luteinizing hormone. If the egg or the egg is not fertilized, then there will be menstruation. Once the egg is not fertilized, menstruation will happen. However, if the egg is fertilized, then the corpus luteum will secrete progesterone and estrogen. This, of course, will, enhance the implantation into the walls of the uterus. Let us continue. The LTH is, of course, responsible for controlling that activity in the corpus luteum. Now, the LTH, now that the person is pregnant, will stop other pituitary hormone from producing. Last thing we need to know, the LTH is responsible, I soon talk about that. The LTH is responsible for testosterone in males. The LTH is responsible for testosterone in males, while the FSH is responsible for the productions of sperms in male. So the LTH deal with the testosterone in male, that macho thing. And the FSH deals with the sperm formation or sperm production in males. So we looked at the female, and now we're looking at the male. Just a brief look at the male. FSH is responsible for sperm production. LTH is responsible for testosterone production in males. I do hope I was really, really clear like daylight there. Another thing we're going to look at now. Okay, let me just deal with this question before I move on. And then we are going to be looking at events in the ovary. Yeah. We're going to be looking at events, what's happening in the ovary during the menstrual cycle. And remember that a menstrual cycle is from the start of one cycle to pretty much the start of another cycle. That is the menstrual cycle. So somebody was asking, what causes menstrual or irregular period? Now, irregular period can be caused by a number of things, but a popular reason for that is hormone imbalance. That's a popular reason. And when you're having this type of a problem, you need to get medical help. Go to your doctor, express the concerns to your doctor to ensure that these are resolved. All right, so very good, Andrews, probably hormone imbalance. So now we are going to be looking at the ovary, and we are going to be plugging in now the hormones and their relevance with the ovary. Let us go. So in the ovary, you are going to have the ovarian follicle growing. All right, and this is growing in order to release an egg. Now, the Graafian follicle will, of course, secrete estrogen. So we have the growth, then it gets to the stage of the Graafian follicle, that mature follicle, which is, of course, releasing or secreting estrogen. Now, that having happened, then the next thing that is going to happen is that an egg will be released. Now, when this egg releases, it is called ovulation. Now, once this egg is released, the corpus luteum, we spoke about all the details already, produces progesterone. Now, if there is no pregnancy, the walls of the uterus and the egg will break down. A lot of things I say here, a whole lot of things has been said. Let us continue. So that is what is happening inside of the ovary. We are going to be looking at the hormones and all of that with the ovary. So let us look at the hormone level now. Now, at the beginning, the estrogen will be low. At the beginning of the cycle, the level of estrogen will be low. But it will gradually rise up to the point of ovulation. We're talking about something different now. We're talking about the hormone level. We're talking about what the uterus was like, what the womb was like. Sorry, we're talking about what the ovary was like earlier. Now we are talking about the hormone level, as it were, when throughout the cycle. So we are saying at the beginning, the estrogen level will be low, but gradually rise up to the point of ovulation. So estrogen will be low when it starts, but it's going to rise. So we have menstruation taking place here. Estrogen level is low, but then it's going to gradually rise again as we repair the walls, and it goes right up to ovulation. Now, when it gets up to ovulation, during which time the progesterone level is low. So what I was about to, sorry, I am being distracted. While the estrogen level is rising, the progesterone level is, of course, lower than the estrogen level. Once the estrogen is rising, the progesterone level is lower. Remember, I was telling you that these two hormones, you need to know about them. You need to know about them for the exam. At the peak of ovulation, the estrogen level will fall. When you get to the peak of ovulation, once you have ovulation taking place, then the level of estrogen will fall. Now, if fertilization occurs, the progesterone level will rise above that of the estrogen. So let us look at it over here. So here we have the estrogen level coming up here. And when it gets to here where ovulation is, it will decline. But just below this, we had the progesterone traveling. When it gets to the barrier here, if fertilization takes place, this is where ovulation is taking place. If fertilization takes place, then what is going to happen is that you are going to have the estrogen level falling, but the progesterone level will rise. So the progesterone level will rise if there is pregnancy. If there's no pregnancy, then the estrogen level will, if there's no pregnancy, then the progesterone level will not rise above that of the estrogen. Very good. Do hope we have that. Sorry, I'm being distracted, guys. I hope you don't mind. So we continue. Any question or concern there? Anything you want me to address there before I move on? I am confused. I knew that. I know it's a very tricky thing. All right, beautiful. I am very happy that you said that. Where do I take it from? You want me to take it from the hormone, or you want me to take it from what is happening in the ovary? Tell me where you want. I was talking about the ovary. That's where we started out. So I'm going to go again because you are confused. So tell me where you want me to start from. In the ovary or the hormone level? Because these are different things. These are different things. All right, so being that they are different, I am going to start with, oh, you want to start with the Graafian follicles. All right, beautiful. So this, if somebody said of Graafian follicle here, let me go again. When I'm finished telling you this, just divorce it, and then I'm going to start telling you about something different. Okay, hormone level. I'm going to start from the ovary. So events in the ovary within the cycle. What is happening within the cycle? Remember, the cycle starts from the start of this period and it goes up to the end. So during the cycle, what does that mean? Is that the ovarian follicles, they will grow, they will get larger. They get larger to a point where they become mature. We call them the Graafian follicles. The Graafian follicles in the ovary will, of course, secrete estrogen. Now, having secreted estrogen, then ovulation will take place. Ovulation, simply put, is just the release of an egg. Now, this having taken place, the corpus luteum, remember that we just summarize it now. The corpus luteum will produce progesterone. Now, if there is no pregnancy, the walls of the uterus will shed, and so too the egg will disintegrate. This is a summarized version of all that we have saying now, all that we have been saying. All right? So this is now a summary of what we were saying. This is what is happening in the ovary. And as we move from the ovary, we look at what would have happened if, of course, there was no fertilization. Then we went on to look at the hormone level. We went on to look at the level of hormone within your body. So we said that at the beginning of a cycle, the estrogen level is usually low. At the beginning of a cycle, the estrogen level is usually low. So too, the progesterone, it is usually low. But while the estrogen level is low at the start of a cycle, right? What will happen is that it will gradually increase the level of estrogen in the blood, the hormone. It will gradually increase up to the point of ovulation. When you get to the point of ovulation, then the hormone estrogen will decrease. Now, if at the point of ovulation or shortly thereafter ovulation, the egg would have been fertilized, then progesterone level will increase. Increase, and when we say increase, it's going to now be more than the estrogen. So before no pregnancy, the estrogen level is higher. Pregnancy, the progesterone level is higher. Understand? Yes, no? Understand? Is it any clearer, guys? I'm going very slow and it's your level, your speed. Is it better now, Jawawan? Jawawan, is it any better? All right, beautiful. Understand. I don't think you understand. It is not the easiest thing to understand, but you said that you do. But I'm going to be giving you some more advice. I'm always saying no. All right. So there are some animations on YouTube that look at the menstrual cycle. I'm going to encourage us, because this is sort of abstract, I'm going to encourage us to look at some of those videos to see if they can help. I will definitely go through the lesson again. I will give you the graph to show you what is happening. But I'm going to try again. Amoy, which is it that you don't understand? Is it the hormone level, or what does that mean in the ovary? Which you don't understand? Simply put, for the hormone. Before ovulation, the estrogen level is low. It continues from the start of ovulation, it continues to increase until it gets, from the start of the menstrual cycle, sorry, it continues to increase until it gets to the point of ovulation. I'm not laughing at you. I'm not laughing at you. But that is impossible for you not to understand everything. But I'm going to help you. Do you have a textbook with you? Do you have a textbook with you? Let me see if I can find two markers. Yes, beautiful. Could you go to the menstrual cycle for me, please? Let me walk you through and find a graph in the book. There's a graph on menstruation in your textbook if you are doing 6C. And the graph, depending if you're using the summary book, is going to be different if you're using probably Macmillan or one of those books. If it's biology, go to menstruation. Whichever one you're using, go to menstruation. It's after reproduction there. And as soon as you find it, just tell me when you find that graph and I'll walk you through. So first thing we're going to be looking at is what is happening in the ovary. And I'm going to be giving you a diagram of that. So I am hoping that it will be clearer. But I do appreciate the fact that persons are saying that they really don't understand. I'm going to draw some little things now. This marker is not working. All right. Have you found the diagrams? Have you found the diagrams? Have you found the diagrams? Think I'm slow. Find the diagram? Tell me, no man. Tell me so I can go with you. So we're about to look at three things. Yes. No. Sherrington, do you have which book are you using, Sherrington? You want to tell me? In some cases, I tend to know the books. All right. So let us start. We're starting with a diagram that pretty much looks at the event in the ovary during the cycle, right? And we're saying in the ovary, we are looking at the ovary during this cycle. If you're using Macmillan, it's even better. If you're using Macmillan, go to reproduction, go to the menstrual cycle, and you'll definitely find the graph or the diagram that I'm asking you to look at. Now, in the ovary, you are going to have, of course, the follicles growing. Remember, it's these follicles from which the egg will come. Then as it becomes larger or older, it is termed the Graafian follicle. Now, as it matures, then what will happen is that ovulation will take place. Now, during ovulation, what usually happens or what happens is that an egg is released. Stop right here. The first thing, we have the follicles growing. They get bigger, we'll call them Graafian follicles. Being much bigger, they become mature. Having been mature, they are going to release an egg. The egg is now released and in the fallopian tube. All right, welcome to the show. Welcome to the show. All right, good. Now, I'm going through this again and I'm going through it a little slower every time. So first we start out with a little, let me just get a million sheet of paper. All right, we start out like this with a little follicle. I'm going to show you. Little follicle. Then this little follicle grew and it got bigger. Then we call it Graafian follicle. Now, one of the things we know about growth is that things tend to increase in size and mass. So you can appreciate the fact that this would have increased in size and mass. Follicle, Graafian follicle becoming older and more mature. Now, as it becomes more mature, what is happening is now that it is going to release an egg. An egg is pretty much developing inside here. It is going to release an egg. So let me just try and draw something here and just open it and just say that the egg has been released. Just let me show it there like that. So I'm going to label them A, B, C. So first we have A, follicle growing. Then we have B, more mature, ready to release the egg. Then C, we have ovulation, where the egg is released. All right, good. Now, the egg having been released, then what is going to happen is that the corpus luteum will now produce progesterone. Will now produce progesterone. That is what is going to happen. It is producing the progesterone to ensure that the uterus lining becomes thick. I did not say that, but it ensures that the uterus, remember we established that earlier, the uterus lining becomes thick. Now, if the uterus lining becomes thick and there wasn't any fertilization, then what is going to naturally happen is that the egg is going to disintegrate. So the egg is going to break down. So when the egg breaks down, disintegrate, that is when we are going to experience menstruation. So that is like the physical part we were talking about. And that was pretty much what we've been talking about all this time. All right? That's what we're talking about all this time. Okay, sorry guys, I'm just going to break here and speak to this. I really don't have live IT classes, but I do have IT lessons as to the practicals. So I tend to look at the practicals like Word, Excel, Access, that type of thing, but not to say I have a live class. I do a video. If there's a video you want me to help you with, you could just leave it in the comments and we will put it on the list of things that we have to do. All right, we've been working on Excel and all that. But if there's something that you want us to help you with, like for the SBA, for the Office Suite, we'll try and do that for you. So just put it in the comment and we'll try to help you. Here we're doing Bio and HSB. All right, Amoy, is it any better now? Tell me in the chat now because I'm not leaving anybody behind. Is it better now? So we're talking about the physical thing. Now, having spoken about the physical thing, we want to now move on to, all right, beautiful. So now we can move on to the hormone. We can move on to the hormones. So you got this. So I can get rid of these. I can get rid of these because you understand that. So now what we are going to look at, remember when you join my show, it's very important for you to come with your text. Come with your text. You can follow in your text. One thing I tend to like to tell students to go and do research, use a book. I try not to divorce students from their texts. And I try not to divorce students from their teachers. I am pretty much a support to all that. All right? So good. So the next thing we're going to look at, we are going to look at the hormone level. And now, while I did not say it explicitly, we are going to be looking at two hormones. We are going to be looking at estrogen and we are going to be looking at progesterone. Are you with me? Yes, no. I'm going slow. I'm going slow. Talk to me, somebody. All right. All right, here we go. Here we go. So around the start of a cycle, the level of estrogen is low. The level of estrogen is low. I'm going to draw a little graph here. So this is pretty much, so this is the start of the cycle. And you know that this is the top here and this is the bottom. All right. So this is going to be our cycle. All right, good. So I'm going to be using two markers. So the red line here is going to represent the estrogen level. All right. So if you observe, the estrogen level is rising. All right. Now it is going to rise to a point pretty close to ovulation. Pretty close to the egg being released. And we are saying that this green line here represents ovulation. Now, having gotten so close to ovulation, then the estrogen, that's what we're looking at now, is going to fall off. The estrogen, the level of estrogen now start falling off. There's going, it's falling off. All right? And it is falling off there because, of course, an egg has been released and the hormone are changing, or they must change. The other thing we are going to be looking at now is the progesterone. The progesterone level was always there, you know. But what happens now, if pregnancy takes place, pregnancy could only take place on this side. Because right over here, the first 5 days over here, you are going to have your period, menstruation. You are going to have your period here, right? Then right after that, you are going to find the estrogen level rising. So it rise comes somewhere up here. Then we are going to have ovulation pretty much in the middle of the cycle. So this is about 14 days thereabout. Then you are going to have a fall off of the estrogen. It falls off here. And of course, if the person become pregnant, what is going to happen is that the progesterone level here will rise. Now, the progesterone level can only rise over here right after ovulation. Is that any clearer? Somebody talk to me. Is it any clearer? I don't know. I think I might be streaming very slow, but just tell me what is happening on your side. Is it any clearer? Pretty much that is the explanation behind it. And of course, just tying all the other things that we have said about hormones, and you'll be fine. Is everybody all right? Nobody's talking to me. I don't know what happened. What happened? Kinda. All right, beautiful. Learning is a process, guys. And what I'm going to do for you, I'm going to ask you to watch an animation with the menstrual cycle. And when we get back here on Sunday, we are going to continue the discussion around the menstrual cycle. All right? Remember, learning is a process. Now, having watched these videos on the menstrual cycle, the things that I'm saying to you now will come to life. Right? I know it is not the easiest thing, and I've been saying that from the start. And I know that it's going to take a little time to have it all digested. We know the hormones already, so we're going to be able to tie in these hormones as soon as we watch the video. And probably by the time we're here on Sunday, we'll be a little more mature in the show. So, of course, be more mature with, of course, the menstrual cycle, so we'll be able to treat with it. So don't be too sad now. Don't be too sad. I didn't really expect you to get it at boom one go. I don't even know you can remember all those hormones so quickly. All right, but with some practice, it will get better. All right, very good. But I'm happy that we understand that we don't understand, because I usually say to my students, if you understand that you don't understand, then it says to me that you are learning. When you're not learning anything, you're not even know if you understand or you don't understand. All right. So very good. We are going to continue on that on Sunday. I'll definitely take up the menstrual cycle again on Sunday. But you have to promise me you are going to watch a video or two with the menstrual cycle. Don't try to watch the long ones with all the big fancy words that we didn't cover today. Try to watch one that is within line of your syllabus. All right. Please ensure that you do. We want to move away now from the menstrual cycle to pick up the menstrual cycle again on Sunday, but we're going to be looking now at growth and development. This is, of course, going to come in a little easier, and I'm very happy that I have a little growth and development to give you this evening so that nobody will cry, because I know that this was a very tippy-toe topic, and of course, students usually have problems, but we're going to make it a little easier now. So we're going to look at, of course, growth and development. Now, all organisms will grow. They'll either reflect growth in height, they might reflect their growth in mass, they might reflect growth in number of appendage or number of leaves, they might reflect growth or maturity with the sugar content, as it were, with sugar cane and some fruits and so on. But growth and development can be reflected in a number of different ways, a whole lot of different ways. All right. We could talk about height, we could talk about shape, we could talk about texture, we could talk about sheen, a whole lot of ways we could look at growth and development. So, our growth and development pretty much started at the time of fertilization, right? Pretty much from the egg hit the sperms there, growth and development started. And of course, remember, we start to have some separation, and that pretty much started. And it continued in what we refer to as the prenatal period. So, our growth and development can be looked at in a number of stages. And the number of stages would have started from prenatal, that was about 0 to 0. You're not even 1 yet. It is 0. And then after we had prenatal, you not being born, then after we have prenatal, then we got to postnatal. We got to postnatal. And this is somewhere up to about age 1. All right, postnatal, prenatal before you're born, postnatal after you've been born, and that goes up to about age 1. And then we have infancy, you're an infant, and that probably goes up somewhere to around age 4. And then after infancy, you are going to have childhood, and that goes up to about 12. So we have prenatal before you are born, we have postnatal up to about age 1, then we have infant, the child is an infant from 1 up to about age 4. And then childhood would start somewhere there, little after 4 up to age 12. All right? Then after age 12, and for some persons it might start a little bit before, you have adolescence. And this is anywhere between age 13 and somewhere there about 17, 18. Now, 18 and over, you will be classified as an adult. 18 and over, you will be classified as an adult. And then after this adult age, we get into an age where we might say that you are aged or you are old. I don't think that I am old as yet, but I do believe that I am adult. I am adult. I am not old. So we continue. So we are going to look at the gain of weight, the development. So about 0 to 1, prenatal to 1, all right, there will be rapid increase in growth. Weight, rapid increase in the weight. Now, between 1 and about 2.5 there, about the mass, the growth rate in mass will decline. And this is for both male and female. So whoop, sharp increase in the mass. Then about 1 there, whoop, sharp decline. And then between about 2.5 and 6.5, the boy's mass will be pretty constant, while the girl's mass will decrease. All right. So the boy and the girls being between 2.5 and 6 thereabout, the boy will have a little heavier weight or a higher mass than the girl at that age. But between 6.5 and 8.5, the girl will of course catch up with the boy's constant growth. So at that time they are going to catch up. When they are about 6.5, 8, they are about pretty much the same mass, if you were supposed to find the mass. And then about 8.5 to 12.5, the girl mass will of course shoot up way more than the boy. And of course you'd understand this is now as a result of the hormones, and of course we've been talking about the menstrual cycle and secondary sexual characteristics and so on. So that would of course play a big role in the girl now outgrowing the boy. About age 12 and a half to about 14, somewhere there, boys will outgrow the girls. And from about 14 to about age 18, the growth will, of course, be reduced. So all of this exponential or this fast growth that you were experiencing, once you reach age 14, that growth rate starts to slow down. And then after 18 thereabout, your growth rate is pretty much somewhere about being constant. You're not doing much of a growth unless you're going sideways. All right. So pretty much that looks at growth and development. And we're just going to be touching a little piece of something now. That is why I said to you in the last show, I didn't want to teach you menstrual cycle with another topic because you are going to be tired after menstrual cycle. You won't be able to do much after the menstrual cycle. I knew that. So we're going to be looking at the importance now of childhood. The importance of childhood. So we spoke about all the different stage of development. I want you to tell me in the chat, what is the importance of childhood? Why is it important to allow a child to be a child? Tell me in the chat. We're going to be having a conversation from now to the end of the show. Conversation to the end of the show. Why is it important for us to allow children to experience childhood? Why is it important? Now, it's a very, very important part of the child's growth and development because it is during this time that the child will learn a lot from playing. A whole lot of discovery will be made during this childhood experience. Now, during this time, parents, it also helps with brain development. During this time, it is very important that there is no separation of parents as it will cause stress on the child. It might affect the child's development if there is separation in the family because the child is pretty much a good judge of what is happening. The child will be able to say who is at fault. You don't need to tell the child anything at all. The child is there observing and listening, and the child will, of course, tell who is the aggressor and know who is the aggressor. So it's very important for us to allow the child to be a child because it helps to shape the brain in that it helps the child learning and it's helped them to learn to get along with others. So it helps with social skills as well. I don't know if you know the poem that said, all I needed to learn, I learned at kindergarten. If you don't know this poem, you could pretty much go online and have a look at it. So pretty much it helps with that type of development. You really don't want, like I said, to be in a relationship and allow the child to be experiencing separation because this could severely affect the development of the child. Then we get into adolescence. Now, adolescence is the age where children or adolescents become confused. They are not sure whether they are a kid or they are adults. So if you tell them to wash up the plate, very quickly they will grow up. Go and wash up the plate. Every day you're telling me to wash up the plate, and they have all the nice things to tell you why they shouldn't be washing the plate. Automatically, boom, they grow up and they become an adult. Once you tell them to go and wash the plate, and now they are a teenager. But they need some money to go to the movie, boom, immediately they become a child again. So you see the big confusion? They need something from you that will benefit them, they become kids. You need something from them that everybody will benefit, automatically they become adults. So they have a whole lot of mood swings during this period because they are now experiencing so much changes in the body with the hormones and all of that, and they really don't know how to treat with it. They really don't know how to treat with it. So whenever we have adolescents around us and they start giving us all those fancy talk and all those fancy walk, be reminded that you should be the grown up and, of course, help them to manage this experience. It is probably one of those times that you don't want to administer any type of those punishment because the child or the adolescent or the mixed up mind might react. It is probably the time that you are going to be going through conversation, having a conversation around the things you like and dislike. And while you have this conversation, please make sure you choose the appropriate time. Don't go to school and try to administer punishment or reprimand. Not the best way to do it. Don't try to do it in the supermarket or on the street. Not the best place to do it. Wait until you are in a safe space where you won't threaten the safety of the child. And we talk about the safety here, we're talking about the emotion. Because we're talking about somebody here who is highly emotional charged. And if you go and upset that balance, you might end up upsetting your balance. And we really don't want that. So understand that even though we're saying adolescence is up to 18, there are persons in their 20s who are still mentally adolescents. By development, they are still mentally adolescents. And they are going to behave that way. They are going to switch between moods, like I told you. You said to do that, they turn into a child. They want this. You said to do that, they turn into an adult. They want this, and they switch into a child. And if you have a kid who is pretty much an adolescent, you can relate to this. So that the child can grow and the body can pass through all the stages. Okay, I said we have a log here. Very good, thank you. Now, I want to talk about something else before I get back to the adolescent development in both male and female. I want to make mention of menopause, and it's very, very important here. All right? Very, very important. The time of having children is very important because as you age, you are putting yourself at risk for depression. Because as a woman gets up to the 40s, 45, 50, 55, the chances of her having a child with Down syndrome is greater. The chances of her having a child who will not be able to learn as quickly as the other kids become greater. So from the literature, it might be safer for you to have your kids between mid-20s probably and somewhere 30s, but 40s and over, it is saying that you are walking on chalk line. So as we plan our lives as students, please be reminded there are some persons who are planning life to have children later. Some persons rather to have it earlier because your education and all of that. But remember, as you become older, start touching that 40. You are at a greater risk of having a child that has some form of, I don't know if I should say defect or disability, but you are putting yourself at risk. 38 and older, danger line. So 40 is red line or probably orange line. All right, very good. Please be reminded, you got numbers here, so you should plan with some amount of great care. Let's get back to the adolescents. Now, as they become adolescents, all right, Jawan, very good. You can watch it. I think we have just one more thing to cover before we leave. We're not going to be doing family planning this evening because of a mix-up in time, but you'll get the family planning on Sunday. Don't worry yourself too much on that. All right. I knew that menstrual cycle would have been a big thing. So adolescents, girls, very quickly, as they approach adolescence, become young adults, the breasts they are going to become large. It doesn't mean that anything is happening anky panky. It doesn't mean that. So don't do that to the girls to start assuming what is happening from what is not happening. We don't know. If you don't have the facts, leave it there. Now, the pelvic girdle, that is the hip region, it is going to become wider. So she now start looking more like a woman. Now, the uterus and the vulva, that will also become larger because now she's pretty much at childbearing age. She can have an offspring. Now, menstruation will start, and even if menstruation will start, even if she has not started menstruating, then what you're going to find happening is that these things are still likely to be happening. Now, ovulation will also start, means that she'll start to produce eggs. Now, the truth is, there are those of us who are trying to hide life truth from our children. It is the time, or you should have started before now, talking to them about the changes and how they should deal with it. They are going to start to asking for some things, are moving towards some things, and that type of thing. And you might not be comfortable with the direction that they are going, but it is things that will happen. The boys, they will start having deep voice now, and they'll start to having face off with the fathers, right? If you remember me again, you say that they'll start having face off, right? So that type of thing we have to be careful of. They'll start growing a beard and they'll have like one strand and they'll pull on it every day, and they are sending a message that listen to me. I'm not the boy I used to be. Look, there's something here. So take the cue. Once you see they start to do this, they're sending you a message and they are not even aware that they are sending you a message. Now, the penis, the scrotum, all of that become larger because now they're at the age where they can become fathers. And you have to be aware of that. The prostate will also enlarge. And of course, spermatozoon or spermatozoa, whichever one you want to look at it as, they will have this at this time. So you might just be in the position to become grandmother or grandfather or something to that like. Now, both will have sex hormones being secreted. They'll have hair growing around the pubic region. They'll, of course, increase in their growth rate. They'll, of course, have sexual desire. And of course, if they have all this, it's only natural that they will be attracted to the opposite sex. There'll be a whole lot of physiological change. So the boy or the girl that is in grade 7, don't fool yourself and talk about them a little picnic. They are experiencing urges because the hormones, they are changing. They are now adolescents, and you as a parent need to deal with this and help them to manage the experience. We're going to stop today here, and on Sunday we are going to take up family planning. I do apologize for the mix up in timing, and of course we're going to ensure, or you should ensure, that when we send the time out there and you see that, check it. It's supposed to be 5:05 on Wednesdays, Fridays, and Sunday. Thank you very much for watching. Do have yourselves a wonderful weekend. Remember, there are a lot of videos on my channel. You can choose to watch whichever. Remember to like, share, and subscribe, and take a friend with you next time. Good evening.